Welcome to the Mom Founders Table. Pull up a chair and join me every week as I become your thought partner and help you lead to create change. I'm your host, Sammy Kesner, entrepreneur, millionaire mom of three, and strategic business coach for established mom entrepreneurs. Every week, you will get tactical guidance to apply to your business, leadership, and life that will help you further your true success while also being invited into a new way of thinking and being that creates true freedom. I'm here to call you out and call you up, so take a seat and let's begin. Welcome back to another episode of the Mom Founders Table, and we have another fantastic guest for you guys today. Actually, two guests, I should say, right? So for those of you that are watching the video, you can see this precious little angel that she is holding, which, like me, she is a mom of three. So Sammy, let's just get right into it. Tell us, I love the fact that you're holding a baby right now. When we came on this call, she was breastfeeding and I was like, yes, this is what it should be. Business, motherhood, everything's integrated and intertwined. So tell my listeners more about you personally, and then tell us about what you do.
Yeah. So I'm Sammy, and this is Della. This is my youngest of three girls. So I have a 5-year-old, a 2.5-year-old, and a 6-month-old. Like I was telling Kelsey, we are in the trenches. We are in it with, the littles, but it's so fun. So we live right outside of Atlanta, and I work from home and very much integrate work and motherhood. That was my goal from the beginning of becoming a business owner. I started my business before I had kids with the intention of it working for our lives and not, competing against working and having kids. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm married to my college sweetheart Alex, and we both work from home. He's literally in the office next to me. So yeah, that's where we're at in life.
I love that you guys both work from home. That's similar to our situation. We've always been a dual entrepreneur household, and I
Hmm.
feel like even though it's harder in a lot of ways, I feel like it's the best gift for our children. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know any kids that get to spend as much time with their dad as my kids do,
right. It's
and it's
so
starting to become more
funny.
common.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my husband and I are truly like 50-50 everything. There's not one thing that I do more than he does, or we 50-50 everything, because we are at home and we do have flexible schedules. And so my girls are they've got a very hands-on dad, extremely. It's great.
Oh my gosh, how special for them though. So something you mentioned when you were talking about your business that I thought was interesting that I wanted to touch on was that you started your business before you had kids, but you
Hmm.
started it knowing that you wanted to be a mom and for it to work for that. So what
Yeah.
did you do differently? What did that look like for you?
Yeah. So, and just kind of backing up a little bit. So, my business is Jackson and June Events. We're a wedding planning company. And I started in, 18, right at the beginning of 2018. It's it's grown exponentially since then. But yeah, I can remember. So right after my husband and I got married, we were relocated down to Florida for my husband's job, and I didn't have a job when we got down there. It was one of those hey, move to Florida in 2 weeks situations. So I had to leave my job, which I was in corporate events and recruiting and in Atlanta. And so
Mm-hmm.
we moved down there. I didn't have a job, and we had just planned our wedding, and I absolutely loved it. So I was like, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do this for a living. I had actually been assisting another wedding planner in Atlanta before we left.
Mm-hmm.
So I was falling in love with it. And so when we got down there, I was like, you know what? I could do this. And so I launched my company. And as I was building it, we had been married for 4 months, and we could very much see we were dreaming of our future together, and as newlyweds do, and kids were always something that we wanted. We both come from very big, close knit families, so it was always yeah, we're gonna have kids. And so I was like, well, if I build this company, then that's what my career is going to look like. So I want to build it in a way that works with our family and not against it. And I've always been very type A and, the achiever and all the things. So I knew I love to work. I love work. So I knew I wasn't wanting to be completely stay at home. But I knew that didn't want to be completely like 9 to 5 in someone's office, you know? So I built it with those things in mind, starting, and this sounds simple, but starting with the name of the company, Jackson and June Events. I named it that with the intention of it not being like Sammy Kesner Events, because I knew
Sure.
that I wasn't going to be the one to do all the weddings all the time as it grew and as my family grew. So I wanted to name it to where the goal from the very beginning was to hire other planners and for them to go do the weddings the majority of the time. And in the wedding industry, there's a lot of people who do name their companies after themselves, and a lot of photographers do. But I was like, no, I don't want to do that because I don't want the expectation for it to be me. Like, I want the expectation for it to be my team, who's an extension of me, because I'm probably going to be at home with my kids on
Yeah.
Saturdays.
Yeah, I love that. And I think one of the things that I will often say is like beginning with the end in mind, right? So, whatever we're planning for, wherever we're going, like we oftentimes think about, okay, this is where we are and this is where we want to go. So, what are the steps forward from here? And it makes sense to think that way. But a lot of times we don't think about that end result about like, okay, I know I want to create this wedding planning business, but knowing that I want to create this wedding planning business that's not going to, require me to be in it all the time, I think is really
Yeah.
beautiful that you had that vision and that you have been able to execute on that and be able to be home with your girls. And so what have you found as you've added children, right? Because now you're at number 3. Now that you have the kids and have the business, what are some things that you have had to do in the business or with your team or for yourself that have allowed that to actually be your reality?
Oh, yeah. So many things. And a lot of what I have put into practice is really from trial and error, if we're being
Yeah.
honest, because,
Yeah.
I've built my business and my family like side by side at
Uh-huh.
almost the same timeline. And so a lot of it has been like, I'm in a place where it almost always comes to the spot where I'm like, okay, this is feeling really stressful. Something needs to change. And just really recognizing that throughout seasons is key. And not like getting inundated with like, oh my gosh, this isn't working. I can't do this anymore. Like, obviously, like there have been those thoughts, but it's never like,
Sure.
okay, let's not dwell on that. Let's recognize that, okay, we're in a season of just like right now, it's busy season. We have a wedding. My team has a wedding almost every weekend. I've got a very opinionated 2.5-year-old and a teething 6-month-old. So, like, I'm not sleeping.
Yeah.
Just recognizing that we're in a season, and so we may need to like shift a few things or schedule in advance for some things to make life a little bit easier. Just like with dinners, I mean, this is such a simple example, but like in busy season, I'm not cooking, I'm not
Sure.
planning meals, I'm not doing
Mm-hmm.
any of that. So like my husband, bless his heart, he cooks, thank the Lord. But he kind of takes that off my plate during this busy season because we are like, you know, pedal to the metal with work. Just recognizing seasons and knowing that it's just that, a season. And in the off season, like in the summer, we don't have a lot of work or a lot of weddings. So, we can kind of take a step back and plan some really fun vacations, and like ebbing and flowing like that has been key to growing my family and my business side by side.
Yeah, it's so cool to hear just like the different ways that people say. Sometimes they're saying the same thing but different ways. And for
Mm-hmm.
you to really recognize the importance of like paying attention and being aware, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what I was hearing as I was listening to you. You're like, I just pay attention when
Mm-hmm.
things start to shift or don't feel good so that I can change them. And I think one of the biggest problems that I see with a lot of my clients and with a lot of just, women that are very ambitious and want to succeed professionally is that like we tend to just almost like white knuckle through our lives, right? It's
Yes.
just like
Yeah.
you're so in the day to day that you have this false narrative in your head of like, okay, well, after this, I can do this, or after this. And then after this, like the goalpost keeps moving or the goal keeps changing or whatever it is. And I think that like just that shift that you said of if we could have a higher level of awareness of like,
Mm-hmm.
is this working for me? right? Because a
Yeah.
lot of my clients have said that to where it's like, this is working for everything else. Like we're making money, my team's paid, we have good projects, we have great clients, but like it's killing me. It's killing my
Yeah.
marriage, it's killing my
Yes.
relationship with my kids. And so
Mhm.
just like the awareness and just being honest with ourselves of like, this doesn't feel good. Like this is
Yeah.
no longer working for me. This is not serving me. And so I think if you have that high level of awareness for those things mixed with what you said about like looking ahead of like, okay, here's a busy season, so like what needs to be offloaded. Here's,
Yes.
I have an upcoming project that's going to require for more hours, so like let's plan for that, because I think that's another piece of this is like, I can't tell you how many conversations I have with clients where I'm like, are you actually sitting down to look at your week ahead so you can
Yeah.
kind of get a grasp on what is coming at you? Because that's like, my clients feel like they're firefighting because there's always going to be stuff thrown at us. I had
Mhm.
a client this morning that was like, can you take a phone call? She's like crying. And I'm like, what happened? And one of her team members quit. It's like, stuff's always going to happen, right? And so, but it's living in that constant state of like fight or flight, firefighting, not taking the time to plan. And so I love that you just kind of live your life with that level of honesty and awareness around what doesn't feel good.
And giving yourself grace through that as well, which is something I've really struggled with. And I think a lot of female mom founders struggle with
Yeah.
this, like this concept of like, you have to do it all and you have to do it all perfectly. I have to tell
Mm.
myself that like literally every day. And especially in these really hard seasons that I keep referencing, I'm like, listen, we're just in the trenches right now. Our house is not clean right now. So, because we are just in it and other things are more important. And giving yourself grace through that is like so important. And like I said, just being self aware and know that like when you scroll Instagram and see perfect other women doing these perfectly, aesthetically pleasing houses and things like that, like we're just not in that season. And we will be again, but not right now.
Yeah. So what does it look like for you when this busy season is coming, or you have a lot of projects, or things are requiring like more from you? Are
Mhm.
there specific things that you do to try to manage and balance all of the things?
Yeah, I think that really making sure that every moment is being worked on. I'm working on something impactful, if that makes sense. So,
Hmm.
like when the baby's napping, I need to work on like I don't need to answer emails. I need to work on my projects and like the weddings. Like I'm on a few weddings this spring. The weddings that are like coming up, I need to work on those first. I need to run numbers. I need to work on the things that are revenue generating in the
Hmm.
small pockets of time that I have. So making sure that I'm just setting up my time to where, because you don't have a lot of time as a mom in this season. And so making sure that, I'm not wasting any time doing small tasks that aren't revenue generating
Hmm.
or that are serving clients or serving my kids. So that's basically the rule of thumb that I live by in these busy seasons, is
Hmm.
just making sure that the little time that we do have is very impactful.
Hmm. So it sounds like that you're very clear on kind of like, as the CEO, these are my needle movers, and this is the best place for me to function. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that everybody could do work on, is like getting really clear to what those are. Because again, sometimes
Hmm.
we just go into autopilot of like, I have emails, I have tasks in my project management system, I have team questions, I have this, and so you're just like taking whatever is in front of you and just taking that
Yeah.
second to step back and be like, okay, I have 2 hours or I have an hour. Like, what is the thing that is going to make the most impact for me and for the business and for my team? So how
Hmm.
do you have a process for how you identify what those things are?
Yeah, yeah, I do. So I time block, and
Mhm.
my calendar looks insane because I have my calendar basically broken into categories and color coded and all of that. And it doesn't have to be that fancy. You do not have to be one of these calendar forward people to time block your time. But what I do is I have kind of themes every day. So, like, as example, Monday is like my reset day because I work a lot on the weekends with weddings. And then, if I'm not working, then we're usually like spending the day with the kids or going to see our in-laws or whatever. So Monday's my reset day. Like I reset the house and, kind of look at the week and make sure that, just like as an example, last week, all the kids had like Read Through America week where we had like theme days that they had to have dress up days every day. So I took time to like look at that and make sure that I remembered all of those things.
Good for
You know,
you, because I just completely, I'm not. Have you seen the thing on Instagram that's like when somebody asks you to be like the room mom or whatever, but you're actually the Venmo mom? I'm like, I've
oh
never
yeah,
felt more seen. My kids will be
yeah.
like, it's Dr. Seuss Day. And I'm like, okay, I'll put your hair on top of your head. But
And
we're also
really,
switching to homeschool. So that's
yeah,
a whole
yeah.
different thread.
No, and when I say I get ready for them, I mean I'm like marking it on the calendar and then digging through the closet to find what we already
Yeah.
have. Like it is not fancy, not fancy at all. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I literally just put like red socks on one of my girls for Box and Socks Day. But anyway,
Yeah.
so but just taking a little bit of time on Monday to like look through that and make sure like I've got things set up, and getting caught up with things. And then on Tuesday is my client day. Like I do most of my client work on Tuesdays. And that's, going through emails and, answering Slack messages and talking to vendors and all of those communication pieces. I do that on Tuesday, to kind of set up the rest of the week as well for clients. Because in the wedding world, clients are a little demanding. Most of my clients are excellent and so kind, but it does get a little demanding. So I like to do that first. And then
Hmm.
Wednesdays are my like creative day where I'm working on content creation. I'm working on marketing for both my personal brand and my wedding business. I do things like this or go to networking things. So that's kind of like my out and about day. That's a day that I do my hair and makeup, whereas
Yeah.
most of the rest of the days I don't.
Yeah.
And then Thursday is another kind of client prep day. And then Friday is kind of tying loose ends together, touch of another personal day. And, I kind of use Friday as like a catch all for things I didn't get done in the first half of the week. Or if I had a sick kid and I couldn't do
Hmm.
something in the first half of the week, I use Friday. So that's really like my secret sauce for that is just like dedicating time to different aspects of life so that, because I struggle a lot with like, if I'm doing something for the family, if I'm folding clothes, I feel like I should be working, or if I'm working, I should be folding clothes, or, vice versa. But if you dedicate your time like that, you can tell yourself, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And it takes that
Yes.
stress away.
It's so true. It's so true. And I love that you brought that up, because this is very similar to what I recorded a whole podcast on, like how to build a 4-day work week. And it's exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying here. Like
Hmm.
essentially one day it's having those themed days, and it looks different for all of my clients because they're across all
Yeah.
industries, right? But
Yeah.
typically it's like a CEO day. That's everything that's like growth oriented, business development on the business day. Then you have two
Hmm.
like in the business days. And then you have one kind of like wrap up, like whatever falls, creative, marketing,
Yeah.
administrative, whatever. And I think that like that for me, having like my two client focused days, it really, what I think a lot of people don't realize about like when you do like theme days or kind of plan, is it does create a lot of like mental relief, because you're like,
Yes,
I
it
know
does.
like where this thing goes. Like when somebody's
Uh-huh.
like, oh, like my clients, like they schedule their appointments, it's on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Those are client
Yep.
focused days. So I
Hmm.
think there's that mental relief that people don't realize. And I also think that it doubles as like accountability for boundaries, which every
Yes. Yeah.
business owner is not good at.
No,
So I think
no, we're
when you
not.
have that, you can say, okay, I can, meet you for coffee, but it's going to be this Thursday or whatever
Yep.
that looks like. And so
Hmm.
I think for me running my life that way, and it sounds like it's similar for you, it does decrease the mental load and the decision fatigue, because you're like, okay, this is how I have my schedule organized.
It absolutely does. It that mantra of I say it all day long. I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now and nothing else. And that just like frees
Mm.
up so much mental capacity.
Yeah, it's so true, because I think that is a struggle for all of us, right? About like, it's always feeling torn between things, right? To where you
Yep.
never feel like you can be fully present where you are, because there's
Hmm.
almost this like, when I start to peel back layers with clients, what I find is like there's this underlying fear, right? Because they've built their business to a level of success by pushing, by grinding, by like
Yeah. Yeah.
hustling, whatever the thing is. And they're afraid that if they don't continue doing it that way, that they won't continue to have the financial success. And so there's a level of like conquering that fear that has to happen. And I always tell people, I'm like, here's the thing. Everybody has like good intentions of like, okay, this is no longer working for me. I'm too stressed. I want to burn it all down, whatever the thing is. Everybody reaches those points, and you might have great intentions of like, okay, it's time for me to do something different. But like, if we don't follow that with a plan and with some accountability, like it's never going to happen. And I think that's why a lot of women, unfortunately, especially that are mothers, are crashing and burning and really struggling with mental health and really struggling with physical health because they don't have time for themselves. And so that's really at the core of everything that I do, is making people more present parents and partners. So how do you, in this like messy middle that you're in with 3 very little kids and all the wedding stuff and running the team, how do you find time for yourself and your husband?
Oh man, that's the $1 million question right now. So we definitely we try to do mundane things together, if that makes sense, because
Yeah.
we don't have a whole lot of time for date nights and things right now. Like this summer we are, but right now it's just pedal to the metal season. And so we try to do like mundane things together. Like even, after the kids go to bed, clean the kitchen. We'll clean the kitchen and like watch a silly show together, even if we're on our laptops. Like last night, we were both working, but watching a dinosaur show that is like so silly that Alex found on Netflix that I think is crazy, but he's loving it. And, we just try to do things like that together where like we are working on other things and we are busy, but we're doing it together. So it's not like we're
Sure.
totally separate. And then again, the same thing is just recognizing to each other that we are in a busy season. Like saying
Sure.
all the time, like, see you in June, or like, we'll do this in July. And just it sounds a little bit depressing, but it's really not. Recognizing it helps so much. It's like, no, we're not like completely out of connection or like not going on date nights because we don't want to. It's just because of the season, and we're doing things, little things every day to keep connected, with the notion of like, okay, we're going on vacation in a few weeks, and we're gonna do X, Y, and Z in July. So it's just those kind of that awareness piece again.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds to me like the things that when I was listening, I was hearing like there's some intentionality around it of like, okay,
Hmm.
what is practical for the season that we're in? Like what
Yeah,
can we do? Like that's how I love like a just a solution focused mindset of like, okay, here's our reality. Like this is what things look like right now. So what are our options? And if our
yeah,
options are cleaning the kitchen together, but it's just having that intentionality behind it to where it's like not just settling for, okay, we're busy, so we're just not going to talk at all. And I think
yeah.
like for us, because we've been married for, gosh, we've been together. Actually, this week it'll be 15 years that we've been
That's
together.
awesome.
And he's my best friend. And I think that one of the things that we do is we just do like a weekly connection while my kids are doing like quiet time or nap time.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
just an opportunity for us to say, hey, like, where do you need me this week? Like, how did I show up for you this week? Like how, it's an opportunity for feedback. It's like we never get to a point to where we're super resentful or frustrated because we have that ongoing conversation. And I think that
Yeah.
it really goes along with like a lot of the conversation that we're having right now about just like looking ahead, right? Like, okay, business season's coming. So let's make sure that we, block an hour here to go get coffee together or
Mhm.
whatever that thing
Mhm.
is, to where so much can be done if you're just intentional about communicating. Hey, here's
Yep.
where I'm at. Here's what I need from you. And I think that's where a lot of people, we have this idea that it needs to be this big thing, right? Like we don't need, you don't have to do date nights every week
No,
or even
no.
every
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
Because generally at date nights, it's like, are you drinking? And then you're hungover and then you feel like shit and then you have to parent. Like nobody wants to do
Yeah.
that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think
Yep.
a little a little intentionality and having open dialogue and communication about what's going on and what's needed and what season you're in really does go a long way to stay
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And we do a lot of that of like, we know each other so well at this point too. We can tell when
Yeah.
the other is feeling really stressed, and it's like, okay, do you need me to take the lead on this? Like, do you need me to do bedtime because you're looking stressed. So,
Yeah.
and it's
Your
those
battery
little
looks
things.
empty.
Yeah, like you need to go sit on the couch for a little bit and like recognizing that in each other. And then little fun things too. Like a couple of weeks ago, we had been talking about how we wanted an espresso machine like for weeks, and we
Uh-huh.
literally just didn't even have time to do it. Well, one day my husband went and took our daughters to school and then stopped by the store on the way home and brought an espresso machine. And now
Cool.
like we have every afternoon after lunch, we have an espresso together, and sometimes it's 5 minutes before one of us has to jump on another meeting, but
Yeah.
it's just like little things of like, and viewing us as a team too, like, all right, we both got to jump on meetings. High five, let's do it. Let's go. And we know like, the intentionality is there.
Yeah, I think that's the key though, what you said about like just being a team, because that's really
Yeah.
what like we think that marriage should be. And I think that it's
Yeah.
when you start like not acting like a team or not recognizing that like you have the same goal, like a
Yes.
happy home, like a happy marriage. You have the same
Yes.
goal, you're on the same team. So I want to
Yes.
switch gears for a second. I love how we've talked through just like the intentionality that you have, the importance of planning, the theme days. So you had mentioned about using AI to schedule a lot of things. So I am very like hot or cold with AI. I love it, but I also am like, this is wild and crazy and kind of dangerous. But I
Mm-hmm.
definitely
Mm-hmm.
think that it has its place. But I would love to hear some tools or tips that you have on like what you've offloaded to AI and what that looks like and how that's helped you.
Yeah, I was the same way. When ChatGPT first became a thing, I was like, "Oh my gosh, y'all, this is a robot and it's going to take over our lives." I was like so against it. But my husband he works in tech. Like he's in software,
Okay.
sales development, like so he is having to learn these things, and
Sure.
he's like it's basically overflowed from his job into our lives, which it's fine now because I really like it now. But we use it for like so simple things. Like he has set up automations where it literally plans our meals every week and kind of looks at our calendar and like plans our meals and puts together grocery lists and things like that. So we don't have to do it. And then we just kind of export what the grocery list and then put it in our Kroger app and, schedule a delivery. So we don't have to go to the grocery store because we can't during this time. It's just
Sure.
like a busy time. So we use it for that, which I think is like a very simple thing that you like just saves so much time during the week.
Uh-huh.
And then I use it for, and this is a little bit more like nitty gritty, but when I'm on client meetings, I have a meeting recorder that records all my meetings because most of the time I am holding a baby, so I can't really type. So it
Of
records
course.
all of the meetings and it transcribes them, but then also puts together like next steps and task lists. And then my husband set up an AI agent, where it actually grabs those to dos out of those meeting recordings and puts them on my calendar for me. And he did that. So I don't know like exactly the steps on how to do that, but it has been
We're all
amazing.
calling your husband, is what you're telling
Right?
me.
Yeah, no, call him. He can do it. He can do it. It's so great. I was like, I need help because I was like, writing to-do lists on paper and it's all over my desk. But he's like, just
Yeah.
let me set this up to where like it's grabbing your to-dos and then putting it on your calendar for you. And sometimes I have to go through and move them around, and I put the
Sure.
to-dos in the categories. Like it'll throw it on my
Yeah.
calendar, and then I'm like, okay, well, this is client work. It needs to be in that client work time block on Tuesday because that's
But
when
the
I do
time
it.
blocks are
So
there so you can just move them around.
exactly,
Love
exactly.
it.
So that's two major things that have been absolutely life changing for us
Yeah.
that we lean on AI for. And it's really just keeping our time, like I said in the beginning, using our time wisely and making sure that we're using AI to help us with those time management pieces.
Yeah, and I love that because I think it also speaks to, especially in service-based businesses, because I think like I was saying, I think there's a place for AI. And I think it's
Yes,
when I think when people try to automate human-based tasks, that's where we get kind of some rubbish.
yes,
I was
yes,
speaking in an episode that I did about like everybody curating their marketing from AI. And I'm like,
yes,
we've lost the plot because we're missing storytelling, we're missing emotional resonance, which is like the
yes.
purpose of marketing, right? We're not
Mm-hmm.
utilizing messaging, we're just pulling everybody saying the same thing. And so
Yes.
I think that a great place for AI is in stuff like this, stuff that's task
Hmm.
oriented, stuff that creates efficiency, stuff that, can clear up some of these like nitty gritty pieces of like, nobody wants to do that. And I think it's really just the human connection element that we have to keep. So I'm curious to know, like, what are the parts of your business that like you would never let AI touch?
Yeah, yeah. Definitely the customization piece that we have to have for weddings, because
Yeah.
weddings are, I always joke that weddings are like snowflakes, like no two weddings are the same ever. I
Right.
mean, I've been doing this for 10 years and have never seen two weddings that are the same. So, there are definitely automations that we lean on in the planning piece, but things like timelines or emails that go out to wedding party and family members and things like that. Like, we have templates that we use, but every single one of those has a personal touch to it. And I
Yeah.
feel like we cannot lose that. And just the human connection piece with planning weddings. Like, I have heard in the industry that some planners are kind of eliminating meetings with their client, and they're going more towards this, like, just filling out a lot of questionnaires and kind of doing things digitally, which I do think there's a lot of meaning behind, or there's a lot of beneficial pieces to that, kind of pairing it with meeting with your clients. But that is one
Sure.
thing I will never let go of. And people can say I'm old fashioned, but I like to talk to my clients. I have to get to know them. My team has to get to know them. So, because part of our job on wedding day is to advocate for them and to make decisions that we know they would be okay with. And you have to know a person to be like, oh, she would totally want to do that, or she would not want to do that. So, those are those pieces I think that I would definitely never let AI touch. And kind of going back to the marketing piece too, I scroll social media and I can just like call it out, like who's using
Right.
AI fully. And I do think you can use it as a tool for getting ideas going. So one thing I did was I have my AI. I use Claude for this, but I
Mhm.
have like a very detailed write up of like my ideal client and like everything about her. And I will ask it to give me prompts and say like, hey, what is my ideal client struggling with today? And
Mhm.
I'll get it to like give me scenarios, and then I write my social media posts from my brain, but
Yeah.
in response to those prompts.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm using it, but not copy paste.
Right. And I think that's the piece in marketing for us too, is kind of finding, like, I believe that the origin of what we are putting out should be our voice, especially if you
Hmm.
have a personal brand as well. And so I think there's a place for it, right? So I'll use it sometimes to where like I will voice note in there and then I'll just be like, don't change my words, but like format this because
Yes.
I'm so long-winded.
Uh-huh. Make
Format
it
this in a
shorter.
way.
Make it
Yes.
shorter.
Make it shorter, make it make sense so I'm not like bing, 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 bing. And so I think that it's like it should be like an add-on, but I think a lot of people are using it as a replacement. And I think
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
that's where it gets a little bit tricky. And I think that's why some people are seeing like a decline and they're wondering like, why is my social media not bringing in leads or whatever? But anyways, that's a whole rabbit hole we could go down, but I do love
Yeah,
the
I
way
agree.
that you are using it, and I think there is definitely a place for it. So I do want to touch on too, like when you think about like you built the business with the idea of like not being fully in the business in the day to day. So when it comes to, a lot of women struggle with being like they're the primary decision maker, right? Like
Hmm.
even though as the CEO, they have a team in place, but like a lot of stuff is still coming to them. Is there anything that you have set up to help kind of alleviate some of that so you don't have to be so much in the day to day?
Yes, yeah. And that was definitely a sticking piece for me in the beginning when I first started making hiring decisions. I was like, no, but I still want to do this. I think it's so important to have just layers of people, basically. And when I say that, I mean, like, I have my sister-in-law, who is also one of my best friends. She is my director of operations now. And
Yeah.
so thing kind of comes through everything that's happening day to day in the business, kind of comes through her first. And she only escalates things to me if she's like, no, we need Tammy to talk about this.
Yep.
And I've really made it clear on like what things I own completely, like the finance pieces. I still own the finances 100%. Like, and I
Sure.
like the finance piece. I love looking at reports. I mean, that might make me a little bit of a nerd, but it's okay. I love those parts. So that's like my thing. And then everything else with client client work and planner training and all of that, like staffing, all of those things go up through my director of operations. And so
Hmm.
just having that layer to where it's not like I'm like, nope, don't care, my hands are off. No, that's not
Yeah.
it at all. I very much care. And that's why I don't want to be the bottleneck. Because if I was the one making all of those decisions, nothing would get done because I just don't have the capacity. So things kind of filtering up through her, it doesn't put it all on her either because she knows that, I can help her with those things, but she's kind of filtering out. It's not all coming to me. And we're kind of sharing the load and making sure that things are not getting stuck because it's all coming to me.
Yeah, and that's key. And I think, like you said, a lot of people get stuck there because they're like, well, I don't want to let anybody down, or
Hmm.
I don't want to be like, some people have this idea that like if they're not like in the day to day, that like they're not being a good leader. I'm like, you recognize in every sport that the coach is on the sidelines, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's what, if you, and so it's a lot of it is trust issues from what I find my team members, of like, this is like something that we have built from the ground up, from our heart, our soul, our blood, our sweat, our tears. And so to hand a piece of that to somebody is really vulnerable,
Yeah,
right? And it
it is.
requires a level of trust. And so I always encourage people, like when we're hiring, I'm like, let's phase this, because there's an element of relationship building and trust building that has
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
happen, and doing things that way and doing the onboarding process a little bit differently, to where it's like that phased approach of like, okay, so what do you need essentially to feel safe, right? Like,
Hmm.
what do you need
Hmm.
as the owner to feel safe trusting this person? And how can we put that into a process that is systematized so both sides have clarity? So you're building that trust together, building that relationship, but also we are fully offloading tasks. So I love that,
Yeah.
like you said, just the layering and like putting somebody almost as like a stopgap in between of like, okay, let's
Yeah.
go here first. This person's trained for that, and then it can escalate.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah. I think another thing, just to expand on that a little bit too, is when you're making hiring decisions, make sure you're hiring for gaps in your own skill sets,
Mm,
or like things that you don't super love doing, or things that you aren't super good at. Hire people that are going to be better than you at what you're doing, because that way,
yeah.
like I'm to the point now where my lead planner, Ashton, who's on my team, I'm like, listen, y'all want her to be planning your weddings, not me anymore. She is better than me, and I recognize that, and that is great.
Yeah.
So making sure that you just are hiring for not not only skill set, but like personality and things that you would be like, I want that person to handle that piece of the business because they're a rock star.
Yeah. It's such a good point. Like, there's no comparison when it's you are functioning literally as a team. So fill
Hmm.
the gaps. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
so appreciative of your time today and making it work, obviously with baby and all the things going on over there. Before we wrap up today, I want to ask you a question about
Yeah.
success, because one of the
Yeah.
things that I think is really cool is that I learned quite a few years ago that I was chasing somebody else's version of success, and I think a lot of women do this. So I like to ask people, what is your definition of success? What does success look like to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I feel very similar. In when I first got started, there was definitely this picture of success that I later realized after I started having kids, that's not my picture of success anymore. My picture of success is to have a business that sustains our life and that makes me feel like when I look at it, I feel proud, and it gives me the breathing room to be myself and to be a mom and to be present with my family. And that allows me to be the best version of myself too. That I can, tell my daughters one day, like, yeah, mommy built this company and
Yeah.
it helps people, spreads joy, and it makes me happy. So therefore, I'm a better mom. If I'm feeling like I have purpose and that I contributed to society and the world, and even through, marriage and weddings. So that's kind
Yeah.
of my picture. And to have a safe gentle place for my girls to grow up.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's funny how it evolves just like as you
Yeah.
do. So thank you again so much for your time today.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so excited that you are in Atlanta, and so I'll get to meet you at City Girls. For any of you listening right now that have not gotten your tickets to City Girls, reminder to you that City Girls is our private dinner series and scaling business workshop, and it is absolutely remarkable. There are only 20 seats in each city. I actually think Atlanta is like halfway sold out already. So we are
Oh,
coming
wow.
to Charlotte, we are coming to Atlanta, Nashville, and Dallas Fort Worth, and the intimacy is on purpose to where we are really we are connecting women so you can have friendships, referral partners. We're masterminding together. We're getting behind the scenes and having incredible conversations. And I'm obviously teaching as well on leadership resilience and how to scale your infrastructure. So if you have not gotten your tickets, we will drop those in the show notes. And Sammy, for you, if somebody is planning a wedding or knows somebody that's planning a wedding, or you said you have a personal brand, what's the best way for people to follow along?
Yeah. So my personal brand is The Wedding Planning Mom on Instagram and TikTok. And there I'm actually working on some fun projects and kind of launching into the coaching side of wedding planning. So I'm
Okay.
being a coach for other wedding planners and helping to strengthen all of the systems and workflows and infrastructure of a planning business as well. So that's where you can find me personally. You can find all the cute pictures of my kids there too. And then on the wedding planning side, you can find us at Jackson and June events on all the socials. And we plan anywhere. So anywhere you need a wedding planner, we can be there.
That is amazing. That's very good to know. Okay, well, we will drop those links in the show
Great.
notes for you, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey.